Thank you, viewers, for joining us here on the West Indies Cricket Development Academy TV. We are truly happy to be back here with you as we continue our coverage of England Tour of the West Indies 2024. As you see running down at the bottom of your screen, West Indies beat England 2-1 in the ODI series, and that happens last night, where the West Indies beat England for the second successive year in ODIs 2-1. We're glad and happy for that. As you would see here on your YouTube screen, that has been overshadowed by the unfortunate happenings with Azari Joseph yesterday. So we'll be talking about that today. I just want to thank the viewers that join us. I want to encourage you to like this stream. I want to encourage you to share this stream as well. And I just want to thank you for taking time out for being on with us again. I have our panelists as per usual, Cricket Hall of Famer, as you can see on your screen, Mr. Dennis Eat. We also have the Honorary Secretary of the Cricket Hall of Fame, Mr. Dale Brown. We also have the president of Cricket Show USA, is also a Cricket Hall of Famer, Mr. Leon Francis. We're glad and happy to have you panelists with us. First, Mr. Eat, there's a dangerous wildfire in your neck of the woods, so we want to know if you're okay and your neighbors are okay. Because we hear a very large fire there in Southern California.
Yes, thank you for inquiry. Good morning to Dale and Leon, and of course yourself, and a warm welcome to all the viewers and listeners of the West Indies Cricket Development Academy. Regarding the question, yes, there is a fire, bush fire burning close by, but far enough away from me to be of no immediate threat. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that, of course, the fire authorities can certainly get the better handle on this one. This is something that those of us living out in Southern California are familiar with. At this time of the year, we get a very intense wind, and that wind generally blow as much as 70 miles per hour. And with one spark, that can cause a complete devastation. So at the moment, I am personally, and my neighborhood is not personally threatened or directly threatened, but we're hoping that the wind will die down and that the fire authorities will be able to get the better of the fire burning close enough.
Glad to hear that. Moving on to the cricket scene now. Firstly, we want to look really on the emphatic victory of West Indies in this series, what they would have able to accomplish in regards to their bowling yesterday. They came out and from the onset, you could see that they were up for the game and they wanted to win. Firstly, your thoughts on that, Mr. Hall of Famer Dennis E.
Well, West Indies did an excellent job in the opening overs to heap some damage, wreak some damage really on the England's team. Being that early loss of 4 wickets suggests that we would be seeing what looks like a overwhelming defeat of England. But to give England credit, and Phil Salt and Sam Curran, as well as Mosley, these players decided that the chips were down, and so they had to work very hard, and work hard they did, despite the fact that West Indies had the wind under their tails by having 4 wickets down. And they performed admirably, the English batters, to take them to the total of 263. Plus, of course, we have to look at the unfortunate incident which may have created a situation for the English bowlers to take advantage. We'll probably go into that later on. But at the end, the injury to Romario Shepherd caused another great upset for West Indies, resulting in Sherfane Rutherford, who was clearly not willing, not ready to bowl, coming in to bowl those overs at the end when everyone knows that's the so-called death period of the innings for the team batting, and he wasn't able to fire in a meaningful way. Consequently, in 3+ overs, he gave up almost 20 runs and over. So that helped the England batters, but giving them credit, England batters deserve credit for holding on, for putting their backs against the wall and coming up with the score. Curran, Mosley, Overton, even Archer, at the last moment, they stepped in and did what they had to do. And quite frankly, I thought 263 runs was a very reasonable total. I honestly did not think that West Indies stood at the opportunity to get that runs so, dare I say, easily. But that's another point to be made. The West Indies batters came out and knew what was on the line, and they did what had to be done. I'm very happy to see that King and Carty has done a wonderful job in stabilizing that third place in the batting lineup. I was disappointed to see that Brandon King, congratulations to Brandon King being named player of the match, but I suspect strongly that the award should have gone to Casey Carty, because he batted throughout his period, scored more runs, had fewer balls, and was not out in the end. Anyway, congratulations to the West Indies. Well done, England, for putting up a brave fight after being so much in the gully. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you for your thoughts, Hall of Famer Dennis C. Hall of Famer Mr. Francis, also the president of the cricket show, is originally from Antigua and Barbuda, but now living in the beautiful sunshine state of Florida. Um, when we look at the performance of Casey Carty and that of Brandon King, you almost wanted Sheffin Rutherford to bowl those overs to give away those 55 runs, because it afforded these two tremendous batting that we have seen last night. Usually the team had to depend on Shea Hope, but how happy are you to see these two youngsters at the very top putting their hands up for West Indies?
First of all, let me say good afternoon to the panelists and to the listeners. Pleasure to be here, and I do hope we have a wonderful session this evening. I'm very, very impressed with Carty in particular. I met I never met Mr. Carty, but I met the other gentleman. And in him, I said, there is a guy with a lot of talent, and he needs somebody to be in his ear every moment that he plays because he has what it takes to be an established player, a player with class. He's a pretty batsman to watch. He performed out of he was not in good form in the previous two games, but he really put his head down and score a magnificent century. I like how he moves his feet and he dispatches the ball. And as for Carty, he has come a long way because more often than not, you find a player who is always just on the brink of scoring a big century. And I think this century will make him an established player at number 3. If not for the test matches, they probably will have him there for the ODIs. I am impressed. There's none for me to be concerned about his batting. And I often say these two players have a place in West Indies cricket. And there was talk about dropping one of the openers. But King, I think, is here to stay. He has the talent, and all we have to do, work on his form. And it seems as if you have to motivate him every time he goes to the wicket. He seemed to be a very modest guy to me. And you just have to tell King, you are better than what you are.
Yeah.
That's what, and then you'll get the best out of him. So I'm impressed. I'm glad the West Indies had a great victory, even though we had a great start and England came back somewhat. Eventually, the task of 263 runs was not enough for us. I'm happy for the victory, and I'm happy for the match victory yesterday and the series win as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, Honorary Secretary Mr. Brown, um, looking back at the West Indies team, um, what they have been through in the one-day game, um, we have seemed to got the T20 up, losing our way a bit in the test arena, but nowhere in ODI cricket. How impressed are you in this series by the growth of this West Indies team? Because it's a tremendous growth from where they were, knowing that there's no Jason Holder, which is the usual suspect. There's no Nicholas Puran. Um, there's no real players that you know would have usually been there. And even if they were to come back now, these guys that are there now have made a strong enough statement to say, you need to go with us. We are the future of West Indies cricket. How impressed are you by the growth of West Indies cricket in ODI cricket this year?
Yes, good afternoon to everyone and especially to my fellow panelists and to the world at large. And thank you for having me again, Mr. Codlin. Very impressed, very impressive performance by the West Indians. Talent for me is never the question. Talent comes almost a dime a dozen. It is your consistency that matters. How consistent are you in displaying that talent? And how focused are you in doing the job that is required of you, playing the role in the team? And it is from that point of view that I am most impressed, especially with the batters of the batting unit. We got excellent performances from Evan Lewis, Brandon King, now Steve Carty, Shea Hope, and Rutherford. Those are the 5 in particular. and those are the 5 top order batsmen. The bowling unit, there's still some very glaring holes in consistent line, bowling consistent line and length, especially by the faster bowlers. Chase and Moti will by and large be steady, economical, and consistent. But the fast bowlers, they come up and down. The big highlight for them, however, is perhaps the slowest of the fast bowlers, which is Ford, Matthew Ford. He has been consistent right throughout, and we need the other 2 fast bowlers to be consistent in their performances. Yesterday, Joseph bowled, perhaps for me anyway, the best I've seen him really bowl in a one-day game for quite a while. He was consistent, and I used the word the other day that when he gets angry, he seems to bowl better, if you can remember. And I don't mean angry in a negative way, I mean it in a positive way.
Right.
And yesterday, maybe not for the right reasons, but yesterday he was angry and he bowled better. Unfortunately, the bowling unit suffered, as was pointed out before, with the unfortunate loss of Romario Shepherd. And let us keep him in our thoughts, because we don't want to see him lose his place due to injury. Anybody lose their place due to injury or an injury like that. His unfortunate situation ended up creating the opportunity, as you pointed out, Mr. Codling, for Carty and King to bat for a longer period and really grasp the opportunity with both hands, both sets of hands in this case. They grasped that opportunity, and I love the way that they batted and seemed to communicate well with each other. So yes, very impressed with their performance throughout the series, notwithstanding any unfortunate occurrences, because you can't win everything. And England recovered from 24 for 4 after 9 overs, and you have to give them credit. You have to tip your hats off to your opponent at some point. As long as you have done your best, and as long as it was not through a lack of focus or taking your foot up off the gas and allowing them to score like that. But we know Shepherd's injury had something to do with it. And, but I believe they executed quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. As our viewers come on, we're encouraging you to like this stream and also to subscribe to our channel if you have not yet done so, and also to leave your comments with us and let us know what you think about the series, the 3-match series, ODI series that the West Indies beat England 2-1 in. Would love to hear from you, and would appreciate you subscribing and also liking the stream. Hall of Famer Dennis Heath, when you analyze what went on in this series, especially in the second ODI that West Indies batted first, we have spoken about them batting first. When you look back on the team under Phil Simmons and see that West Indies batted first a few times, did not pass 30 overs. How evolved are they now when you look at the second ODI and see the kind of score that they were able to muster, despite them being challenged early on in that second game, but was still able to have gotten over 300 plus runs?
Well, we see a great improvement in this side, in the West Indies team and in the West Indies squad. And full credit, of course, will be and should be given to, new coach, Darren Sammy, who has made a great impression on the players as well as the overall West Indies fan base. Now, the West Indies batters at the ODI level have recognized how important it is to play as a team, which means the first 2 or 3 batters are managed to get out cheaply. They are confident enough to know that batters coming behind them can pick up the slack. This is not something that we saw in the West Indies team and squad during the Simmons period. So full credit to Darren Sammy for his squad and team selections. The West Indies definitely have made a bigger improvement in how they go at their task. The bowlers, of course, sometimes they do very well at the beginning of a match. Other times they have to work extremely hard in order to pull things back. West Indies is not known for batting first, and for them now to be in a position where first or second really doesn't matter. But once again, they show the point that they are a much better team when they are in a position of chasing runs. So we will see whether teams as a whole will become aware of this and use that as a cudgeling tool for getting at the West Indies. But they should be aware that they are no longer a pushover when batting first.
Absolutely, it's a tremendous growth. Hall of Famer Leon Francis, since the time when Brian Lara was the captain, West Indies always considered as a chasing team because the power of Chris Gayle then opening the batting, Ramnaresh Sawan in the middle along with Shivnarine Chandapal. Are these guys now carving out a new identity, being able to bat first and bat second and still able to amass over 250 runs?
Yes, indeed. I think they have found a niche, and batting first or second doesn't seem to matter, but I sense that they prefer to bat second. And the fact that in the second ODI in the series, they put out a good total of over 300 runs, but they just could not defend it. And that is seem to be the pattern that they want to take to chase. I see some great improvement in that area. And what I am also observing some great development in some of the players. No longer are we really suspect of our players when once we are going to be losing 2 or 3 wickets before in the power play. They are now able to. Jaffa Archer and Bettel were supposed to be players that were expected to do well in their hometown, and the crowd was behind them, and the West Indies that didn't matter. And I figure they, having left out our cricket for the second match, it really benefited England. They were able to score well, and especially at the last part of the batting, when we needed someone to check that batting, and Salt and company went merrily to overtake that over 300 runs. I'm proud of what the development I've seen in the batting, and we still see some little lapses in the fielding. But I also observe that they have some players that they are developing. For instance, the catch in the third test match, in the third ODI, when you see the fielder went out of the boundary and Azari was...
King and Azari Joseph.
Yes. And that happened also in the first test match, ODI. It wasn't that there was a relay, but Azari was there in case there was a fumble, and then the catch was taken. But he did not prevent the catcher from taking it. Yeah, he was there, but if there was a spill.
It was him and Mooti in the first ODI, and then him and King in the third. So that's a plus. When we look at really and we're happy that some of our viewers, Desmond Gale there in the comment, when we look at our ability now to bat first and put up challenging total, and our ability to chase down totals as well. Honorary Secretary Mr. Brown, the bowling has a lot of question mark, and how disappointed are you by the bowling performance of Jaden Seals, who have got a consistent run now in Sri Lanka and here in the Caribbean? But how disappointed are you with him in the second ODI, and how disappointed are you, and if not really disappointed but concerned, that Mooti now needs a bit of rest just really to freshen back up, and because in 2 consecutive ODIs now is really expensive.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Codlin. I'll deal with Seals first. Seals, as we know, was extremely disappointing in Sri Lanka. He came back in the first match of this series and bowled very well. So I expected that he would now have learned his lessons and be much more consistent with his lines, especially his lines, not so much the length, but the line at which he was bowling. Unfortunately, in the second game, he regressed and regressed dreadfully. I could not believe it was the same bowler who had bowled so well in the first game. Pace, speed, you have to be very careful, because when you bowl, the faster you bowl is the easier it is for the batsman to generate power and get you over the infield or over the boundary. And I don't know what it will take for these bowlers to understand that. A bowler like Seals need to bowl fuller and more, utilize the Yorker much more. And in speaking of him, I can't speak of him without speaking about Azari Joseph also, who bowled poorly in that game. Now we have to remember we're talking about this particular format. We're not talking about Test cricket. So some persons might say, but Seals is a great bowler, Azari Joseph is a wonderful bowler, but they are not great bowlers in this format, and they need to learn how to bowl and utilize their skills in this particular format. Where Mooti is concerned, I'll tell you something. Mooti was bowling very well in that second game, and something happened in that game that hopefully persons noticed it. Mooti bowled a delivery to Sam Curran. Curran charged at him and hit him for 6. Okay, why did Curran seem so reckless all of a sudden? Because Curran had the mental awareness, the mindfulness to notice that one of the West Indian fielders was in the circle when he was not supposed to be in the circle. So it was an infringement. It means that the ball that Mooti bowled, Curran knew that it was a no ball. Therefore, he attacked it mercilessly. Once he hit it for 6, he signaled no ball to the umpires. The umpires didn't notice. They weren't aware of it. Mm-hmm. So the West Indians were not aware of it, and neither were the umpire. But who paid the penalty? The West Indians. not just the West Indians, but Moti. From that one ball, he hit a six, he got a no ball, and he got a free hit. From that one delivery, 11 runs were scored. From that point on, for the next 4 overs that Budashesh Moti bowled, he conceded 49 runs. I'll repeat, 49 runs right after that incident. So he lost it. Mentally, he lost it. He was not able to focus anymore on the job at hand. And for the first time, actually, I've never seen Moti get hammered like that. And I firmly believe that that incident was the precursor to him having such a bad outing when he gave up 70-odd runs in the second ODI. He has never bowled that badly. And what we need to focus on is these little incidents that show, one, the fielder and the captain were not aware that they were in an infringement. They were not aware of it. Moti the bowler was not aware of it. Even the umpires were not aware of it, but that's not our concern. Our concern is for ourselves and for us to be mentally aware. It's part of mindfulness training to be aware of the moment and know where you're supposed to be stationed in the field, because those are the rules and requirements for limited overs cricket, whether it's T20 or 50-over cricket. And you have to be aware of it. And I believe that that is what led to Moti bowling so badly. And you're not going to bowl magnificently every game. He wasn't that bad yesterday because he given up 48 runs in 10 overs is a solid performance. Not what we have come to expect from him, especially without taking a wicket, but it was still a very solid performance. And I look forward to him returning to his form when in the T20 series.
Yeah, and just looking at the T20 series, we wonder if um, Moti should be included, seeing that Akil Hussain is on his way to Barbados to take part in that series. It could be a great opportunity to give Moti a rest that has been playing non-stop, because a bit of fatigue could play in him, because usually he's a very tight customer. Um, but looking back at this third ODI, and uh, did show tremendous um, maturity as captain, Mr. Francis, with how we handled the unfortunate breakdown of Azari Joseph. It could have happened to any other player, but him, the captain, um, did he show leadership in that situation, that unfortunate situation that would have overshadowed this entire um, ODI series win? Because when you go on social media and everywhere else, that's what they're talking about. But did the captain himself showed maturity in this situation from your point of view?
I thought perhaps he did what he had to do, but I mean, under normal circumstances, a senior player, one of your better bowlers in the squad, and he requested a situation from you to give him an extra feel in a position. Leeway should have been made. And I felt that he did what he had to do, and I'm just going to leave it at that, because say leeway should have been given. And it's unfortunate that he went so far. Azari was wrong to have gone off the field, but Pope too could have used more discretion. You have one of your senior player as well, and he asked for a certain concession. I would have given him, but he chose not to, and he escalated. Whatever the outcome will be, Azari will have to take whatever is punishment, if there is one, that is meted out to him by the disciplinary committee. But again, this need not to have happened, but it happens. It has already happened. And I'm sure that whatever the outcome, we have to let peace reign, because West Indies is looking up. They're able to compete and to win matches. And that should be our real concern right now. Continue to win and have a winning squad on the field all the times.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
Yeah,
at that.
the media, especially the English media, like these negative stories, and they have some of their own. They are no saint in these things, and let us make it clear that we don't condone what Azari would have done, but while we don't condone, we hope that good sense will prevail, knowing that there's a bigger picture behind what happened. And sometimes it's how you relate these message to the individual, you get a different reaction, if you will. A question is being asked, how did you, so some level of investigation has to take place in this regard. How did Hope answer to him when he requested that the slip come out and go to short leg, or to silly point, or to mid wicket, or to strengthen the cover? And so these things has to be looked into. But Mr. Heath, the head coach Darren Sammy coming out strong last night, talking about Azari Joseph behavior, and he's very good at man management, and these things he will not allow on his cricket field. How do you view this statement from the West Indies head coach?
Mr. Godlin, I did not actually see the statement or actually hear the statement as it was being made. So it's a little tricky for me to make a call in terms of Darren Sammy's position in that comment he made. Nonetheless, it's quite feasible and understandable in one sense that Joseph, as the bowler, may have thought that he had an idea of how to get the batter out. But at the same time, we have to remember that the captain, especially from his position behind the wicket and as the leader of the team, also has the vision and the right to set the field as he sees fit, meaning he should be able to tell Joseph, this is what I want you to bowl, this is how I want you to bowl it. And as a professional, I would have expected that Joseph would have followed the request of the captain rather than thinking that he has the right to override or overrule the captain's wishes. That having been said, I understood, and I did not see the incident as it occurred, but I understood that Joseph left the field. What I'm curious to find out is, did a substitute fielder come onto the field of play during this period? And obviously, yes, thank you for making that confirmation for me, because that was a point that I wondered if, protocol or if the rules of the game had been broken by having a substitute fielder. So I think that I will wait to see what action that the administrator, the coach, the captain, and others within the Cricket West Indies take as a result of this unfortunate incident. And we'll obviously be keeping a very open mind. Yes, Joseph did not deserve to behave in the manner he did. And I take it from an experience that I had in my working life in a situation, not in a cricket match, but on the job situation where I knew I had an important decision and meeting to attend to, but my supervisor felt that his need within the department was overriding, and he denied me the opportunity to go forward. Of course, I protested, and later on, I was told I might have had the right to protest, but I did not have the right to refuse the order. And consequently, I've learned to live with the fact that the leader of the day has that overriding decision. And so I believe that Joseph was wrong in making that kind of a mountain out of what to me was a molehill. We'll see how it's dealt with. At the moment, I am leaving it at that, but certainly some decision, some investigation, and of course I expect that the fans in the West Indies and around the world should be given an explanation and a clear indication of what transpired, why it transpired, and how it's being dealt with.
Yeah. Nikhil Umchandami, commentator, working for TNT Sport on the ongoing series with England and the West Indies, asked Sheo, quote, since 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 the incident with you and um, since the incident with you and Azari Joseph, have have you since made up? Hope reply, no comment at the post-match presentation. While while later, Sammy said he would be having word with his bowler. Sammy continued, quoting him, behavior like this is unacceptable on my cricket field. Sammy told Talk Sport, which was interviewing him, we will be friends, but in the culture I'm trying to build, that's unacceptable. We will definitely have a chat about that. And so this is an indication that there will be continued conversation about this. But um, Honorary Secretary Mr. Brown, is West Indies have the mechanism in place to deal with mental breakdown? We have seen in the past where a very good wicket keeper and a very good batter, um, average is pretty good when he left in Shane Darrich, left the tour in the mix there in 2020 of New Zealand, came back to the Caribbean, never represented West Indies again. We were told he had some mental challenge. When we look at the returning Evan Lewis and his struggles in the past, but never got any help at all from West Indies as it regards to their mental well-being. Um, are we now about to see the same mistakes being created? You have for the cut, the band-aid, but how do the healing take place? What goes into it to prevent this from never happening again? Because the player, while he's wrong, but something trigger what happened. Can we say, were they having problems before? Were they not seeing eye to eye in the meeting for this particular game? Did a difference exist before because it is his first over? He asked for the field to be readjusted. Usually, the bowlers would have a strong say in the field that they want so they can have the desired result because they know the captain and the bowler has to meet and decide how are they going to prize out a wicket. the feel that is required for the plan to come to fruition. So, in the absence of all of these things, what can be done and what is the punitive measures that should be taken to avoid such a thing like this? There's no doubt that West Indies cricket is looked on in a negative way by this, but can we also say West Indies failing their duty to make sure these things don't happen?
Thanks, Mr. Codlin. The West Indies administrators and administration has failed very badly in implementing or introducing any mechanism to prevent incidents like this happening. That is one of the reasons why I will emphasize the need for mindfulness and mind power training throughout the Caribbean, not only just because of cricket, because this training will make better cricketers by being a byproduct of the training. So we're not going to look at this from the point of view simply of cricket. It is a holistic point of view. It will make a better person, persons who are able to handle stress, who are able to adapt to any situation that comes in front of them in a calm and patient manner. That's the byproduct of mindfulness. And it was, for me, obvious that no one there is practicing anything like that or is aware of handling situations in such a manner. I'll have a word for Coach Sammy. Tell me when that cricket field became his cricket field. Because if you notice, he said, my cricket field.
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
It's my cricket field. And it tells you it's not a matter of him wanting to help the young man. It's a matter of him now wanting to impose his will and that I am the boss. But not in that forum. This now deals or calls for someone, not for you to be speaking to him, but for you to be saying, we, as in the administrators, as in the coaches and whomever, whatever the setup is, that we are going to thoroughly investigate and see how we can help Azari Joseph.
Absolutely.
I have not gotten that impression. Even the captain, I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but the captain, outside of the normal no comment, it would have been good to hear him say, I hope we can get to the bottom of this, because this is not Azari. Something must have triggered this response in him.
Yeah.
I look forward to helping him. But everybody is about I, me. As one person say, there's no I in team, but there's a M and an E in team. So you have to be careful when you start talking about me and I. We, that is what I would like to hear Darren Sammy speak about. I don't want to hear a press secretary giving out some pronouncement about Azari Joseph or whatever 3, 4, 5 days down the road, when they take a dictionary and make sure that whatever they present to the people is pristine and you politically correct. This is a young man who clearly is having problems, reacted badly, and maybe I hope this is a decent forum. It's public knowledge. Azari Joseph lost his mother when he was 22 years old. And he lost his mom. She died in the middle of a test match that he was playing in. And he played. Did the West Indies or anybody, it's none of my business perhaps, but have they addressed him in any way, regardless of how strong he seems? And, oh, we love you, man, accept our condolences. Has anybody looked 10 days later, 10 months later, hey, are you okay? How are you coping? Playing cricket on the international level is a very stressful endeavor.
Yeah.
And you have to look about the health of these players, the mental health of these players. When we speak, Brother Codlin, you spoke about Moti being tired. Yes, I'm concerned about him being tired, not so much physically, but mentally. Sometimes they need to take a break mentally to go away from that hotbed that they are in. And as I noted, that incident, I'm hoping that someone spoke to him, spoke to the team when with the fielding incident that I mentioned, and the sequence of events that led to runs being scored off one ball from him. And it obviously had a negative impact on him. We don't know what had a negative impact on Azari Joseph. Maybe the constant chatter about him being the most expensive bowler may have gotten to him. And he says, okay, I took 2 wickets, and they said, but you gave up 60 runs. So that additional slip, he may be looking at it as a wicket taking option, but also another option for more runs to be scoring off of him. We don't know. And we would have loved to understand that the powers that be would have worked out their bowling plans before they came onto the pitch. You don't work out these plans while you are there. You adjust the plans while you are there. But after one ball, I didn't think anything needed to be adjusted because he had only bowled one delivery prior to all of this happening.
Yeah.
So it shows a lack of communication, a lack of planning, and the absolute need for a mechanism to be put in place to introduce mindfulness and mind power training to these players, not just to make them better cricketers, but to make them better and more rounded individuals who can deal with and handle any situation on or off the cricket field in a calm, controlled manner. So
Yeah.
thank you.
May I interject one moment here?
Go ahead.
One of the point that we have not addressed this morning is that Azari Joseph is the named vice captain of this ODI team. And as vice captain, it's his responsibility and duty to act with the captain of the team for the betterment of the team. And what this does tend to point out is that Azari Joseph has displayed the type of behavior, mental behavior, that says he is not ready, he's not fit to be a vice captain, let alone captain of any team at this point in time. I just wanted to point that fact out and say, yes, while I agree with Dale that there should be some psychology or psychologist intervention for the team and the squad, we should not forget that if Azari was the captain of the team and a player had asked him for X, Y, or Z, and would he have reacted in the manner in which Shea Hope reacted? And consequently, he was being groomed as a future captain. And I have a strong feeling now that this ship has now sailed from his particular growth in West Indies cricket. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm reliably informed that before this series, he was stripped of the vice captaincy, but because the series was being had in Antigua and Barbuda, which is from and still live and have a lot of support, they did not make it public. But in real terms, if something were to happen to Shea Hope, Brandon King would have taken over because he's the assigned vice captain from our reliable source within the West Indies squad. at this time. Brandon King is the appointed vice captain, and this is filtered out to the players, but not to the general public. And this might play the part in um, him being the way he is as well, because there's a right and a wrong way to do things. And as we have said before, we don't condone what Azari Joseph did, but what we are looking at is the bigger picture. What caused it, what triggered it, and we are saying to Cricket West Indies, in the disciplinary panel that you all have, what should be included in that panel as well is something to do with mental health. Mental health is a big thing in the world today and in the workplaces. And we are going to push it continually that some level of mental intervention need to be taken place in West Indies team. And we in the Caribbean, especially here in the West Indies, need mental intervention in everything that we do to make sure the decisions that are being made properly, because power get to some people head and it causes them to talk things and to filter it out in a way that will bring adverse reaction. And so they need to know how to deal with power, and those that are beneath and are in the wings of receiving the power need to know how to wait and not grab that power, but how to wait until that power is given to you, then you exert thereafter. So, some level of mental intervention needed, some mind power um, are needed within our West Indies team. But now, looking back at the third and final ODI as we seek to wrap up, Phil Sark 74 from 108 deliveries. Dan Mosley, a very good partnership between the two. 57. He made some current um, 40. Archer 38. Matthew Ford 3 for 35 from his 10 overs. Shepherd, unfortunately, 6.1 overs, 2 for 33. Azari Joseph 2 for 45. Ruston Chase 1 for 42. Hall of Famer Leon Francis, Azari Joseph went off the field. Shepherd had to come in and pick up the slot. How impressed are you that he was able to come in and immediately put England on the back foot?
That was a tremendous spell there, having the ability to pick up from where one would have hoped that he could impress. And by his getting those couple wickets, help a lot to keep the pressure on the Englishmen. Just want to piggyback on what Mr. Brown said, because that is so important. I've seen over the years, you had a situation with Haley Matthews. I remember Haley Matthews too. She was suspended some years ago. Then there was Ranako Morton, who said his grandmother had died and left the tour. Too many incidents of this have happened. And West Indies need to take a deeper look. And Mr. Brown, you hit it right in the head, in my view. I'm not saying that Azari Joseph should be, give a tap on the hand and say, hey, you acted unwisely, but we're going to give you a bypass. The important thing, we need help for these players. You don't know what they're going through. Azari Joseph has been saddled with a lot of misfeel of his bowling, a lot of drop catches. He took a marvelous catch, and just moments after, you saw a fielder do a belly flop over a ball and went for four. You see catches being dropped. And the pressure must have gotten onto him. I'm not making an excuse for him. He's wrong. But the point is, West Indies need to take a deeper look into the players, because not only are they going to a lot of pressure, You don't know what these players are going to. Never had the opportunity of had this training. So the mental training is so important, and we need to adapt it right now. Whatever the disciplinary committee would recommend, I'm sure Sammy should not have come out there and say what he said. But of course, he has an image because he too himself in the
Yeah,
years when they left over, he did make himself. He got out of order too
yeah,
when he criticized the West Indies cricket board,
yeah,
and there are numerous players that have done that. I'm not going to condone what they did, but West Indies cricket board need to make this be a priority. Look into the matter why players are reacting the way they do, and help them. I'm not.
absolutely. 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 We remember in the World Cup final in 2016 when Darren Sammy disrespected the West Indies
Yes.
president at the time, Dave Cameron, in the
Yes.
most disgraceful way. And so we are saying that um, these things are going to come up based on how you deal with a particular situation at time. We don't feel pleased in bringing it up back, but the playing field has to be leveled. Um, Mr. Yeet, when you look at Ruston Chase and Goody Kishmooti through the middle overs, keeping England at bay, Chase 1 for 42, Mooti not picking up a wicket in the last two games, but four wickets in the first game. How impressed are you by these two West Indian spinners?
Well, Moti, I've long been a fan of Moti, and I've argued in the past that yes, he's an essential unit for the West Indies. And at one point, I even went so far as to suggest that I thought he was superior in his performance to um, Akil Hussain. I certainly have not changed my mind with regards to Moti, and Ruston Chase in the past has performed as an essential all rounder. He has that ability to make or change the situation of a match either with his batting or his bowling. And he too, in my opinion, is very valuable. And I count myself amongst one of the favorites who would say that Chase and Moti deserve to be in our white ball squad, regardless of whatever else is happening around them. Those two players are supposed to be essential units.
Yeah, absolutely.
One,
All of, go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead, Mr.
I forgot to mention the fact about young Quickie. I wouldn't want to see them discard him at all.
Jaden Seals.
They didn't see it at all. I like the young man. I hope they don't discard him. I hope they keep him close to them, and because I think he potentially one that could be a match winner. To me, he bowls the ball fuller, and you have Alzari who bowls shorter, and one will to ruffle them, and the other one will will do the take the wickets. I remember Lily and Massey went to England one year. Lily was the enforcer, as it were, and Massey came over the wicket. So, just my little opinion. I don't want to see Seals being discarded because of his lack of performance in the last few matches. But give him an opportunity to be with the side and rub shoulders, and hopefully he can improve.
Yeah, but we have an ongoing CG United Super 50 now, and if a bowler were to take a lot of wickets, fast bowler, um, he would be in some trouble in keeping his place as the Bangani show the eyes come up in 3 weeks' time. Um, Mr. Mr. Brown, in the final analysis now, um, Brandon King his last 10 innings, Uncle had one score of 35. the last time we were here, we highlighted his stats. And if he had not performed in this game, he would have been under tremendous pressure. How does he impress you with his 102 last night? Was an impressive 102. Um, how impressed are you with him and that of Casey Carty, who struggled in Sri Lanka, but that showed that he belongs at this level with this kind of batting performance last night?
Yeah, well, King, as you pointed out, had been quite disappointing over the last 10 innings or so of his ODI career. But I will go back to the first game of in the series of this current series when he and Lewis had an opening partnership of 118. He scratched and clawed his way to 30. Didn't seem very significant at the time, but as pointed out, he was there and he stayed there with Lewis and had a lot to do with West Indies' um, easy victory in that DLS rain shortened one day international. So he scratched for that 30. The next game, he was dismissed early off a not a really bad shot, but it was a good catch taken, I think, at cover point. So to see him come back and show the resilience to come back and perform so well is really, um, I feel heartwarmed to see him perform so well because you don't really want to see anybody perform badly. And to have such a long string of low scores and then to come good at some point, what I expect from him now is to be consistent in his performance, to give us a very good performance
Yeah,
going
Casey
forward.
Carty.
Yes, and then with Casey Carter now, he had one decent inning in Sri Lanka when he made the 37. Um, he had an on-field little incident with Rutherford while he was batting with Rutherford, which concerns me a lot also because for me, you don't show up your teammate out on the field. You try not to do that at all. But that being said, he has come back in this series now and put together two back-to-back excellent innings. His 71 in the prior game must not be discounted, and he built on it and scored an undefeated 128 yesterday, which again, it was not under undue pressure, but we still had to make those runs, the 268 runs that England had set us. And he made sure that once he came in to bat, he did not leave there until we had crossed the finish line. And he didn't celebrate his century too much. He batted on. And that is very impressive with young Casey Carty.
Thank you for your thoughts, Honor Secretary Mr. Brown, and Hall of Famer Dennis Heath, Hall of Famer Leon Francis, President of Cricket Show USA. Thank you all for being here with us. Um, we'll be back Friday to preview the first T20 in the five-match T20 series with West Indies and England, and we'll talk about the return of Nicholas Puran and of Akil Hussain when we're back on Friday and talk about if the West Indies will take the first T20. Also, we'll be back for England is their captain Jos Butler. We'll be talking about his impact on the England team when we are back. So until then, we thank you for joining us. To all the viewers that was on, thank you for joining. Please like the stream. Please subscribe to our channel and continue to be with us. We'll be back on Friday. Thank you all, the panelists, for being with us, and to everyone that joined us today. thank you so much. And from all of us here at West Indies Cricket Development Academy, goodbye.
Thank you.
Good going, gentlemen.
Yes.
Very good indeed.
Yes, Junior, I'm disappointed that Cricket West Indies have not been transparent enough